January 1941, Alexandria Harbour, Egypt. HMS Illustrious lies alongside the repair ship HMS Resource. The carrier's flight deck is torn open. 6 German bombs have ripped through her armoured decks, killed 126 men, and left her unable to steam faster than 18 knots. Malta's dockyard has already patched her once under continuous air attack. She needs weeks more work before she can attempt the 12,000-mile voyage to America for permanent repairs. The ship doing that work displaces 12,300 tons, makes 15 knots on a good day, and carries 4 4-inch guns that have never fired at an enemy. She has no armour, no torpedo tubes, no aircraft. Her captain calls her the most valuable target in the eastern Mediterranean, and the Luftwaffe flies directly over her on every raid. HMS Resource is a sitting target, a floating factory anchored in an exposed harbour, while German and Italian bombers circle overhead. She cannot run, she cannot hide, she cannot fight back in any meaningful way. Yet between May 1940 and June 1942, virtually every damaged warship in the Mediterranean fleet passed through her workshops. Carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers. Ships that would otherwise have been absent from the theatre for 6 months to a year came back to Admiral Cunningham's command in weeks. How did a single, unarmed auxiliary vessel become the most strategically important ship in the eastern Mediterranean? The problem was distance. After Italy entered the war in June 1940, the direct route through the Mediterranean became a battlefield. A damaged ship sent home from Alexandria had to travel around the Cape of Good Hope, 12,000 nautical miles at a wounded ship's pace of 10 to 12 knots. 6 to 8 weeks each way, plus dockyard queues, repair time, and working up exercises. Even a moderately damaged cruiser could be absent from the theatre for 6 months. A carrier needing structural work might be gone for over a year. The Mediterranean fleet could not absorb those losses. Admiral Andrew Cunningham commanded a force stretched impossibly thin across 4,000 miles of contested sea. Every cruiser lost to dockyard time was a convoy without cover. Every destroyer sent home for repairs was an anti-submarine screen with a gap in it. Every battleship making the long voyage to America was one fewer capital ship to face the Italian fleet. Malta, the Royal Navy's traditional Mediterranean repair base, was being systematically destroyed. By April 1942, the Admiral Superintendent at Malta would report that practically no workshops remained operational, except those underground. All docks were damaged. Electric power and telephones were largely out of action. That left Alexandria. And Alexandria had one fleet repair ship. HMS Resource was the only purpose-built fleet repair ship in the entire Royal Navy when the war began. Not a converted liner. Not a merchant hull fitted with workshops after the fact. A vessel designed from the keel up to repair capital ships at sea or in forward anchorages. She had been laid down at Vickers Armstrong's in Barrow-in-Furness in August 1927, launched on the 27th of November 1928, and commissioned in 1929. Her specifications reflected a ship built for utility rather than combat. 12,300 tons displacement, 530 feet in length, 83-foot beam, 4 drum Admiralty boilers feeding steam turbines that produce 7,500 shaft horsepower through 2 shafts. Maximum speed of 15 knots, enough to keep pace with fleet logistics movements but not fleet actions. Peacetime complement of 581 officers and ratings, of whom approximately 200 worked directly on repairs. Her weapons were industrial, approximately 37,000 square feet of workshop space spread across multiple specialist departments, a pattern shop and foundry capable of brass and iron castings up to 1,000 pounds, a smithery and plate shop with pneumatic hammers, a forging press, and plate-working machinery, an electric welding shop equipped for 10 simultaneous welders, heavy and light machine shops with borers, planers, lathes, gear cutters, and milling machines, specialist workshops for electrical systems, internal combustion engines, optics and instruments, coppersmithing and plumbing, and woodworking. Overhead travelling cranes in the main workshops handle lifts up to 4 tons, supplemented by power-operated hoists for 1-ton loads. A 1947 Institution of a Naval Architect's paper stated her design function precisely. She was built to carry out simultaneously on 2 battleships and 2 cruisers, such after-action repairs as would prevent those vessels being sent to a main base. Her crew called her Remorse, the despair ship, a sardonic tribute to the grinding, unglamorous work performed aboard. The repair record proved the design. HMS Illustrious arrived at Alexandria on the 25th of January 1941. Her flight deck shattered, both lifts destroyed, fires still smouldering. Resource's workshops fabricated structural patches, repaired machinery, and made the carrier seaworthy enough to survive the voyage to Norfolk Navy Yard in Virginia. 7 weeks of continuous work. Without that emergency repair, Illustrious would have been trapped in the Mediterranean, unable to fight, unable to flee, a magnet for every Axis bomber in the theatre. HMS Formidable followed. Formidable. 2 1,000-kilogram bombs had hit her during a strike on Scarpanto Airfield on the 26th of May 1941. Her side was blown open forward, her hangars were wrecked. 2 months of emergency repair at Alexandria made her capable of reaching the Norfolk Navy Yard for permanent work. Resource's welders and shipwrights turned a crippled hull into a seaworthy vessel. HMS Warspite came next. A 500-pound bomb had struck the old battleship during the Battle of Crete on the 22nd of May 1941, killing 38 men and disabling gun batteries. 4 to 5 weeks of temporary repair at Alexandria prepared her for the long voyage to Puget Sound Navy Yard in Bremerton, Washington. She was near missed again during a Luftwaffe raid on Alexandria on the 23rd of June, causing additional flooding that had to be addressed before she could depart. HMS Gloucester arrived with her bridge destroyed. An Italian bomb during the Battle of Calabria on the 8th of July 1940 had killed her captain and 17 others. Full repairs at Alexandria by the end of August. 7 weeks of work. She returned to the fleet to earn the nickname the Fighting G before being sunk off Crete in May 1941. The Australian destroyers of the scrap Iron Flotilla were regular customers. HMAS Stuart and HMAS Vampire cleaned boilers alongside Resource on the 7th to 9th of May 1940, the day after her arrival. HMAS Vendetta was taken in hand for repairs by HMS Resource for condenser trouble on the 19th of April 1941. HMAS Perth spent 10 days in dock at Alexandria in February 1941 and returned again after Crete damage in June. If you're enjoying this, subscribing takes a second and supports the channel. After the Italian Frogman attack of the 19th of December 1941, which left both battleships Queen Elizabeth and Valiant sitting on the harbour bottom with their backs broken, Resource's workshops supported the massive salvage effort, fabricating components, performing machinery repairs, working alongside Admiralty Floating Dock No. 5 to restore ships that Italian intelligence believed destroyed. The subsequent repair of HMS Jervis, damaged alongside the tanker Sagona in the same attack, also fell to Alexandria's repair infrastructure. The pace was relentless. Carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, merchantmen, any vessel that could be patched up and returned to service rather than sent around the Cape. Every repair job completed in weeks rather than months multiplied the effective strength of the Mediterranean fleet. The Axis knew Alexandria was the British Mediterranean headquarters. Italian agents monitored the harbour continuously. German intelligence, supplemented by the compromised American Black Code used by Colonel Bonifellas in Cairo, provided detailed British military dispositions. A German assessment envisioned a strategy to devalue the naval base of Alexandria for the English by attacks from the air and by submarines. Italian reconnaissance on the 18th of December 1941 confirmed which ships were at their moorings and that the sea was calm, triggering the Frogman attack that crippled Queen Elizabeth and Valiant. The Regia Marina maintained an accurate and detailed picture of harbour defences at Alexandria, including minefields, net barriers, artillery positions, and patrol patterns. Yet neither the Italians nor the Germans specifically targeted Resource. The Decima MAS Frogman unit prioritised battleships, then carriers, then tankers. Cruisers and other warships ranked below fuel targets because of the secondary objective of igniting floating oil. Repair ships were not mentioned in Italian target lists. This was a strategic blind spot. Destroying Resource would have forced every damaged warship out of the theatre for months. One successful air raid, one well-placed mine, one Frogman team with different orders, and Cunningham's ability to keep his fleet fighting would have collapsed. The Axis understood the value of Alexandria as a base. They failed to recognise the outsized importance of a single auxiliary vessel within it. The Americans understood forward repair capability. The US Navy built the Vulcan-class repair ships at 15,000 tons displacement, with crews exceeding 1,000 men, and workshops capable of cutting a ship in two for engine replacement. USS Vestal completed 963 repair jobs for 58 ships in 60 days at Tongatabu. USS Ajax performed 2,195 jobs for 149 ships during a single deployment at Ulithi. By 1945, the American Service Squadron 10 had grown from 13 ships to over 600. The total service force numbered 2,930 vessels, with 500,000 personnel. The Royal Navy started the war with one purpose-built fleet repair ship. The wartime emergency spawned conversions. HMS Wayland ex Antonia, HMS Artifex ex Aurania, HMS Orsonia, HMS Alornia, HMS Ranpura, former Cunard and P&O liners fitted with workshops over approximately 2 years each. Two smaller Lend-Lease vessels from America, HMS Assistance and HMS Diligence, provided about 16,000 square feet of workshop space. Resource offered 37,000. A 1947 assessment was candid. Resource and Wayland were larger and more lavishly equipped than was necessary for first aid repairs, yet inadequate to face the extensive structural repairs found necessary to enable a damaged ship to reach a distant base. The balance was imperfect, but imperfect capability was infinitely better than no capability at all. Resource remained at Alexandria through every major fleet action from Calabria to Crete to the Malta convoys. On the 28th of June 1942, with Rommel's Africa Corps advancing toward Egypt after the fall of Tobruk, she was evacuated through the Suez Canal to Port Sudan. She returned after El Alamein turned the tide. Her final wartime chapter came with the British Pacific Fleet. She departed Trincomalee in January 1945 for Fremantle, Australia. By May 1945, she was at the American forward base at Leyte in the Philippines, repairing ships damaged during operations against Sakishima Gunto. She finished the war at Manus in the Admiralty Islands, still doing the work she had done at Alexandria 4 years earlier. Think back to that carrier alongside at Alexandria in January 1941. Illustrious. Her flight deck torn open, her crew burying their dead, her captain wondering whether she would ever fight again. The critics who dismissed fleet repair ships as second-line auxiliaries were wrong. The planners who built only one purpose-built repair ship before the war were nearly proved catastrophically wrong. The Axis intelligence officers who photographed Alexandria harbour and listed every battleship and carrier but ignored the repair ship alongside them were wrong. HMS Resource never fired her guns in anger. She never sank an enemy vessel. She never steamed into battle with shells splashing around her. She did something more valuable. She kept the ships that did those things in the fight. Carriers that would have spent a year in American dockyards returned to combat in weeks. Cruisers that would have missed 6 months of convoy duty came back in time for the next operation. Destroyers that would have left gaping holes in the escort screen were patched and refueled and sent back out. 12,300 tons of workshops and foundries and welding gear anchored in an exposed harbour. A sitting target that sat there anyway, month after month, raid after raid, because the alternative was losing the Mediterranean. The most important British warship in the eastern Mediterranean was the one that never fired a shot, and the Axis never even tried to sink her.